Hi, welcome back to my channel. Last time I gave you 4 double bills for Halloween. Tonight, for an alternative Halloween night, I'm going to give you a horathon, something that will take you through from 6 o'clock in the evening through to the witching hour. And so 5 films to take you through. And to start with, we need a little aperitif, a little starter, don't we? So a little short film. And you cannot get better than The Signalman. This was made as part of a BBC series in the 70s called Ghost Stories for Christmas. They were often shown on Christmas Eve, late at night on BBC Two. And my generation, I'm 50 now, we remember these stories with real fondness. They were often directed by a guy called Lawrence Gordon Clark, and he directed them with real atmosphere and period detail. They're beautiful little miniatures, horror miniatures. The Signalman is based, probably the best of the series. It's based on a story by Charles Dickens, actually, and it's a genuinely frightening and creepy story, which also is it's a very interesting reflection of the time because the Victorians were just getting used to the idea of mass train travel, and they'd had some horrible train accidents, and they were getting used to those kind of industrialised accidents which we now so desensitised to, where hundreds of people get horribly killed. And that was what was the incentive for this story. It's about a little signalman in his tiny signalman's hut. And every night he hears this weird cry in the tunnel in the distance. Below there! Hello! Below there! And this spectre waving its hand. And each night he goes to try and see this spectre and it's not there. Beautifully illustrated by this cover. And then one time he goes and the spectre reveals its face. And he starts to understand the spectre's purpose. I won't tell you any more. But this is about half an hour long. The main actor is Denholm Elliott giving a brilliant performance. And it is one of the most perfect horror films you will ever see. The atmosphere, the use of location, the photography, everything is so beautifully controlled. And it is genuinely, to this day, genuinely creepy. So this is a great way to kick off your Halloween night. A little hors d'oeuvre, if you will. But now we want the main feature, right? So I've picked a humdinger. It's 2.5 hours long, unusual for a horror film. It's from Korea, and it's called The Wailing. This came out in 2016. If you have not seen this film and you're a horror fan, oh my god, you are in for a treat. It is bonkers. It is completely bonkers. It's from a director called Na Hong Jin, and it's such a complicated storyline, I don't really know where to begin with it, but basically all these people in this remote Korean village start killing each other in really horrible ways. And one of the policemen investigating the case suspects a Japanese guy who's just moved in the forest and thinks he's some kind of witch. And the lead police inspector, who's a bit of a wally, a very good actor, a very well-known Korean actor, he starts to think that there's something in it. And then it really goes batshit crazy. I don't want to tell you what happens next because this is a movie that changes about every 10 minutes. You think it's going to be a sort of movie about people going crazy, then you think it's going to be a witchcraft movie, then all sorts of stuff happens. It is completely bonkers and it is an absolute joy for horror fans. You will love it. And if you make this the main feature on Halloween night, you'll have a great time. Once that's over, you'll need another little break. Little, in-between course. So I'm going to suggest you get out Mario Bava's Black Sabbath. Now this is an Italian portmanteau horror film from the 60s. And what I'm going to say to you is, don't worry about the first 2 stories. They're not very good. Even the middle one with Boris Karloff, it's beautifully shot, but it's not very interesting. Just go straight to the last story, the 3rd story of the portmanteau, which is called A Drop of Water. Again, like The Signalman, it is a perfect piece of horror filmmaking in miniature. It's about 20 minutes long. It's a riot of lurid green and red hues, really gothic sets and, phantasmagorical cinematography. It's about this poor young woman living on her own, and she dresses corpses, and a local woman dies, and she's called round to the flat. And the local woman is dead in the bed, and she sees this ring on her finger, and she thinks, I'll have that. And from the moment she takes the ring, the ghost of the woman starts to pursue her. And this is a It's a triumph of style, you know. The cinematography, the music, the dread of it is fantastic. It's so good. And the final expression on the woman's face, the final shot of the whole film, is something you will remember forever. But you'll see what I mean when you get there. I don't much care for the rest of the stories, but that end story, which is about 20 minutes long, is one of the most perfect little horror films ever made. Now we're getting to the end of your Halloween evening now. You know, the candle in the pumpkin is going down. It's time for another feature film. So I'm going to suggest you get out Horror Express. Come on, what a movie. What a title. It's got Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in it. It also has Telly Savalas as a Cossack. So, you know, you need to suspend your disbelief for a bit. Basically, I think it's Christopher Lee finds this kind of yeti in the ice, and he's transporting it back on this train. And of course, the yeti comes back to life, and it has red eyes. And if he catches you, he kills you, and your eyes go white, and they start bleeding, and then you become a zombie under his control. This is a very silly film, and it is glorious fun. It has a wonderful score, and I'm going to have to read the guy's name again. It's John Kakavas. A wonderful whistling, eerie theme, which actually is the main part of the horror of the film, actually. It really got to me as a kid, when I watched it as a kid. But it's just great fun. And, you know, they get these Cossack soldiers who all become zombies, and plucky Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee have to fight them off. You'll have a ball with this film. If you've never seen it before, it's great fun. The music score is very memorable. So your Halloween night is coming to an end. Most people are going off to bed. But maybe you want to stay up and just watch another little gem. Turn to Season 5, Episode 12, if you will, of The Twilight Zone, the original 1950s-60s Twilight Zone, and you will find a little gem. It's called Night Call, and it was directed by Jacques Tourneur, who had previously directed Cat People, I Walked with a Zombie, and Night of the Demon. And it's his last great horror film. It's only 25 minutes long. It's a very simple story. An old lady, bedridden in a house, and every night she keeps getting a phone call, and this kind of weird remote voice saying, "Come and help me, come and help me." I won't tell you any more than that. You don't need to know any more than that. It is a little piece of prose poetry, beautifully directed, beautifully paced, beautiful atmosphere, very creepy, beautifully acted by only 2 actresses, I think, in the whole thing. And if you've never seen it, you didn't know about it, it's one of the secret gems of Jacques Tourneur's directing career. And it is really, really great. And it's a great way to finish off your Halloween night. But I've got an alternative for you. If you don't fancy that, or you cannot get the Twilight Zone, try this. Shalken the Painter. So I'm going back full circle here. I started with the BBC Ghost Stories for Christmas. When they finished, the next year, a producer-director called Leslie Megahy wanted to carry on the tradition. So he asked this arts programme on the BBC called Omnibus if he could do a similar thing. And he produced this. This is one of the strangest, weirdest ghost stories on film you will ever see. And it's a must. It's based on a real-life Dutch painter called Schalken, Gottfried Schalken. But apart from that, it's all complete make-believe, and it's based on a short story by Sheridan Le Fanu, one of my favourite ghost story writers. And it's very odd. It goes into the world of Dutch art, and how he's living with his patron, Emmett Doo, who's a famous painter himself. And it's all concerned with money and the commerce of art, and using women to paint them, and exploitation. You think, what is this? Is this some kind of art movie about Dutch art and Dutch capitalism? And then suddenly, this kind of man who looks like a corpse turns up, wanting to marry Emmett Doo's daughter. And then it goes really weird. I love this film. A lot of the joy of this film is its reproduction of the Dutch art world through the paintings of Vermeer and Pieter de Hoek and so on and so forth. It's lustrous looking, it looks beautiful. And that's a lot of the joy of the film. But it's a weird film that combines the supernatural with commentary on art, with commentary on capitalism and exploitation, with an ending that can only be described as perverse. Very odd. Young women and ghouls cavorting in a crypt. You want to watch it now, right? So that's your chaser, that's your little digestif to end your Halloween night. Whatever you choose to watch this Halloween, have a fantastic time, and if you've enjoyed the content of this video, please like and subscribe below. Thanks very much.